Have you ever popped open that squeezy bottle of mayonnaise in your fridge, squeezed the dollop onto your wrap, and noticed a strange, shiny, almost gel-like sheen that doesn't melt, even under a toasted sandwich? Or maybe you've noticed that your favourite brand doesn't separate, even if it's been sitting in your fridge door through a scorching Australian summer. We've been conditioned to think this indestructible consistency is normal, but the white spread you are slathering onto your lunches is a chemical illusion. It's a highly engineered industrial lubricant designed to survive a road trip in an unrefrigerated truck across the Nullarbor, not to be digested by a human dot. Today, we are cracking open the jars sitting in millions of Aussie pantries and exposing the quiet, slimy reformulations that the big supermarkets didn't think you'd notice. You will find out exactly why your childhood favourite now tastes like sweet cardboard. We will crack open the laboratory data, exposing how premium brands are spinning absolute rubbish into gold, and I will show you the simple label test that will instantly save you from buying thickened water. Stick around because the absolute worst offender on our list is a massive household name that you probably bought this week thinking you were making the healthy choice. Before we name and shame, let's establish what real mayonnaise actually is, because the food industry has spent millions making sure you forget. In its pure form, mayonnaise is a culinary miracle of physics. It's a delicate emulsion of just four things: high-quality oil, egg yolks, an acid like vinegar or lemon juice, and salt. You are forcing tiny droplets of oil to suspend themselves inside water-based egg yolk, creating a creamy texture. Think of it like a sports car. If the oil and the mechanical parts don't align, the system grinds to a devastating halt. But in the industrial food system, making a delicate emulsion with real ingredients is a massive financial liability. Real eggs are expensive and spoil quickly. Real cold-pressed oils turn rancid and bitter when exposed to light and heat. If a manufacturer shipped a traditional, honest mayonnaise from a Sydney factory to a shelf in outback Queensland, it would separate into an oily puddle before the truck even cleared the Blue Mountains. To solve this, corporate food scientists engineered a profitable workaround. They took out the expensive ingredients and replaced them with cheap industrial stabilizers. Instead of relying on the natural emulsifying power of egg yolks, they flood the bottle with water, cheap seed oils, modified starches, and gums. This creates a fake, synthetic structure that mimics the mouthfeel of real fat, but costs virtually nothing to manufacture. It's the culinary equivalent of replacing a solid timber table with cheap particle board. The worst part of this industrial wizardry is that to keep this Frankenspread from tasting like chemical sludge, they dump in refined sugar to mask the bitterness of cheap, highly processed oils. Then they throw in synthetic preservatives like calcium disodium EDTA to stop the mixture from turning grey. You aren't eating a condiment, you're eating a preservation strategy. Once you understand these dirty tricks, you'll never look at that squeezy bottle the same way again, especially when we look at the first massive brand on our list. Let's start the purge with the premium option that sits in high-end Australian pantries looking all fancy: S&W Whole Egg Mayonnaise. You've seen this in Woolworths and Coles. It comes in a classic glass jar with clean typography and a sense of imported quality. It looks like the kind of mayo an artisanal sandwich shop in Melbourne would slather onto an organic sourdough roll. The glass jar has real heft, and when you pick it up, it whispers that you are making a sophisticated gourmet choice. www.woolworths.com.au when you flip that heavy glass jar around, the premium illusion shatters instantly. The ingredient list tells a very different story. Vegetable oil, derived from genetically modified soy, is the absolute first ingredient, followed by water, a tiny 4.9% egg yolk, sugar, and preservatives. S&W is owned by a massive multinational, and despite the premium heritage marketing, its actual formulation is as basic as they come. At $7.50 for a 440-gram jar, you are paying a massive premium for what is essentially soy oil and water. The oil they use is highly refined, completely stripped of nutrients, and selected purely because it is cheap at scale. www.woolworths.com.au. Blind sensory tests conducted by Australian food publications like Choice, consumers consistently fail to distinguish S&W from basic house brands when they can't see the jar. Sensory analyst Dr. Sarah Higgins noted that the heavy glass container trick has a profound psychological effect, tricking our brains into registering higher fat density and freshness where none exists. A real customer review on Product Review sums it up. Tastes okay, but when you look at the price per 100 grams, you realize you're paying double just to have a heavy glass jar in your recycling bin. The verdict? S&W is a clever graphic design project masquerading as an artisanal condiment. Let quotes keep sliding down the shelf to the absolute bottom of the pile. Coles Simply Mayonnaise. This is the massive, plain-looking squeezy bottle sitting on the lowest shelf of every Coles supermarket in the country. It doesn't pretend to be gourmet, it has no fancy heritage story, and at around $2.80 for a massive 470-gram bottle, it exists for one single reason: feeding a large family on an absolute shoestring budget. But to hit that incredibly low price point, the product designers had to engineer a recipe backward from a strict financial ceiling, and the results are grim. The Coles Simply recipe is a masterclass in industrial corner cutting. The formula starts with canola oil, followed immediately by water, white vinegar, sugar, and a measly 4% whole egg. Because 4% egg is nowhere near enough to emulsify that massive volume of water and canola oil, the mixture would naturally split into a watery mess within minutes. To force this unstable soup to look like real mayonnaise, Coles relies on modified maize starch and xanthan gum to artificially create that thick, gloopy texture. To top it off, they throw in calcium disodium EDTA, a chemical preservative that acts like a cellular anchor, binding metal ions to stop the cheap canola oil from oxidizing and turning grey, while the bottles sit unrefrigerated in massive distribution centers for up to 9 months. If you taste this on its own, it has no natural brightness or egg richness. It has a shiny, gel-like texture that coats your tongue like sunscreen, and it tastes of almost nothing except sugar and vinegar. It is an edible emulsified gel, not real food. One Australian reviewer on Choice wrote, "It's cheap, but it behaves more like glue than mayo. It ruined my potato salad because it just turned into a sweet, slimy paste." Coles Simply is cheap, yes, but you are trading your family's health and palate for highly processed, chemically stabilized water. Now we move to the absolute king of the Australian mayonnaise aisle, the brand that is sitting in nearly every second fridge in the country, Praise Whole Egg Mayonnaise. Owned by Goodman Fielder, Praise is a household legend. It's the blue-labeled bottle you grew up with, the one your parents used on every single backyard barbecue salad. For decades, Praise built a reputation on being the reliable, family-friendly choice. You didn't buy it because you thought about it, you bought it because it is the default Aussie staple. But if you actually look at what is inside that squeezy bottle today, it is a shadow of the formula that earned your family's trust. Vegetable oil, protected with synthetic antioxidant, leads the charge, followed by a measly 9.4% free-range egg, water, sugar, vegetable gums, and garlic. That synthetic antioxidant is butylated hydroxyanisole, a controversial preservative that has been flagged by food safety advocates globally for its potential health impacts, yet it is quietly added to keep the cheap vegetable oil from going rancid. Worse still, Praise has slowly added more sugar to mask the lack of real egg richness, resulting in a product that is shockingly sweet. It has been engineered to survive the brutal logistics of Australian supermarket supply chains, bouncing around in hot trucks, sitting on fluorescent-lit shelves, and surviving for months in your fridge door without ever spoiling or separating. But this consistency comes at a major cost. Real food spoils. Real food has natural variation. Praise has engineered all of that out, leaving you with a highly stable, sugar-laden, chemically preserved spread that is riding on the coattails of your childhood memories. If you are already itching to check your own pantry, subscribe. It only gets rougher from here. Which brings us to the absolute worst offender on our list, a product that makes me genuinely angry because of how deliberately it targets health-conscious shoppers. Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise with olive oil. When you stand in the aisle at Woolies or Coles, trying to make a better choice for your family, this jar screams, "Buy me." It features beautiful green and gold packaging, prominent pictures of fresh olives, and the words "Seriously Good Mayonnaise made with added olive oil" plastered across the front. It costs a premium, and you gladly pay it because you think you're avoiding inflammatory seed oils and eating a healthy, Mediterranean-inspired spread. But this is one of the most calculated marketing deceptions in the entire supermarket. Flip the jar over and read the ingredient list. Canola oil is the very first ingredient. Canola oil forms the vast majority of the fat base. What about that healthy olive oil featured so proudly on the front? It makes up a tiny, pathetic 11% of the total product. In the food marketing industry, this is called a characterizing ingredient. An ingredient added in just enough quantity to legally allow them to put it on the front label and charge you double, but not enough to actually change the nutritional profile or the quality of the product. Woolworths. To make matters worse, look at how Heinz achieves that thick, creamy texture with so little oil. The fourth ingredient is water, followed by free-range egg, a tiny 4.7%, sugar, salt, and stabilizers, 412, 415. Because real oil is expensive, they have watered down the formula, using cheap thickeners and vegetable gums to mimic the viscosity of real, full-fat mayonnaise. You are paying premium olive oil prices for a jar of canola oil, thickeners, and water. A review from a disgruntled Coles shopper tells the whole story. Bought this thinking it was a healthy olive oil mayo. Read the back when I got home and felt completely ripped off. It's mostly canola oil and thickeners. Absolute rubbish. Heinz with olive oil is a massive marketing trick that wraps cheap, low-grade industrial ingredients in a health halo, charging you a premium for the privilege of being deceived. Right, here comes the part that made watching this far worth it. Let's talk about the brands that actually did the hard work, refused to cave to cheap corporate shortcuts, and are putting real, honest food on our supermarket shelves. You don't have to settle for synthetic starch and industrial canola oil. These three options are widely available in Australia, taste incredible, and actually match what is promised on the front of the label. Best option number 3. Best Foods Real Mayonnaise. Now, before you start throwing things at the screen, let's address the elephant in the room. Best Foods, which is exactly the same product as Hellmann's sold in other parts of the world, is a massive commercial brand owned by a multinational. It sits right at eye level in Coles and Woolies, and it costs around $8.50 for a massive 810-gram jar, making it incredibly affordable at just $1.05 per 100 grams. Normally, a massive corporate brand is a red flag for cheap fillers, but Best Foods is the rare mass-market exception that actually held the line on its core formula. Coles. Look at the back of the jar. Canola oil leads the list at 77%. After that, it's just water. 7.5% pasteurized whole egg and egg yolk, white vinegar, salt, sugar, lemon juice concentrate, natural mustard flavor, a tiny pinch of preservative 385 to keep it shelf stable, and a splash of natural paprika extract for color. No modified maize starches, no xanthan gums, no chemical thickeners. The thickness and rich velvety mouthfeel of this mayo come from a real, stable emulsion of high-quality oil and actual egg yolks. It has a classic, beautifully balanced tang with a clean, savory finish that isn't cloyingly sweet like praise. Independent product testers at Choice consistently rank Best Foods as the top-performing mass-market mayonnaise in Australia for its authentic texture and reliable culinary performance. It is the perfect, budget-friendly option for families who want a clean, honest, traditional emulsion without paying specialty health food prices. Woolworths. Best option number 2. Macro Organic Whole Egg Mayonnaise. This is Woolworths' house brand organic option, and it is an absolute quiet achiever sitting right under your nose for just $6.50 for a 440-gram jar. At around $1.48 per 100 grams, it is barely more expensive than S&W or Standard Praise, but the philosophy behind it is worlds apart. Macro Organic is built entirely on the principle of minimal intervention and clean, certified organic ingredients. The ingredient list is incredibly short and simple. Organic sunflower oil, organic whole egg, organic sweetened condensed milk, salt, organic acetic acid, and organic mustard. That's it. No synthetic preservatives like EDTA, no thickeners, and absolutely no artificial colors. They use organic sunflower oil, which is much lighter and cleaner tasting than cheap soy oil. And the natural richness of the organic whole egg gives it a beautiful pale ivory color and a thick, creamy spoonability. Because it lacks heavy chemical stabilizers, it has a shorter shelf life once opened, which is actually a useful signal that you are eating real, active food rather than an indestructible industrial spread. It has a gorgeous, creamy depth with a subtle tang that elevates a simple chicken sandwich into a gourmet meal. It's the ideal choice for shoppers who want to cut out synthetic agricultural chemicals and artificial additives without blowing their weekly grocery budget. Best option number 1. Chosen Foods Classic Avocado Oil Mayo. 10 years ago, if you wanted a genuinely clean mayonnaise made with cold-pressed avocado oil instead of inflammatory seed oils, you had to hunt through dusty specialty health stores and pay astronomical prices. Today, Chosen Foods sits right on the main shelves of major retailers like Costco, Woolworths, and health food stores across Australia. It is the gold standard of clean label condiments, and it is the primary reason it sits at the absolute top of this list. Chosen Foods, yes, it is a premium product. A 355ml jar can cost a pretty penny compared to Best Foods, but what you are paying for is an uncompromising, highly demanding ingredient supply chain. Look at the label. Avocado oil is the very first ingredient, followed by filtered water, egg yolks, organic whole eggs, organic distilled white vinegar, organic mustard, salt, and organic rosemary extract. That is the entire list. No canola oil, no soybean oil, no starch, no gums, and absolutely no synthetic preservatives. Avocado oil is naturally packed with heart-healthy monounsaturated fats that are incredibly stable and resistant to oxidation. Chosen Foods cold presses their avocados close to the orchards in Mexico, transporting the oil in sealed containers to prevent any pre-production rancidity. Chosen Foods. Tasting this side by side with a standard supermarket mayo is a revelation. It is incredibly rich, slightly floral, and has a clean finish that doesn't leave a heavy, greasy film in your mouth. Rosemary extract acts as a mild, natural antioxidant to keep the oil fresh, meaning it has a shorter, more honest shelf life. It is real food that behaves like real food. If you have the budget and want to completely eliminate industrially refined seed oils from your diet, this is the bottle to buy. It is proof that we don't have to accept cheap chemical substitutes in our daily lives. Next time you are standing in the condiment aisle at Woolies or Coles, you do not need to feel like a victim of corporate marketing. Here are 6 simple rules to help you spot the real deal and avoid the industrial sludge. First, look at the order of ingredients. Water should never be the first or second ingredient on the list because real mayonnaise is a fat-rich emulsion, not thickened water. Second, check the oil source and actively avoid generic vegetable oil or soybean oil, choosing cold-pressed avocado, olive, or organic sunflower oil instead. Third, watch out for stabilizer red flags like modified maize starch, 1442, or thickeners like xanthan gum, 415, and guar gum, 412, which are only there to artificially hold watered-down mixtures together. Fourth, inspect the egg percentage. A quality mayonnaise should contain at least 7 to 10% real egg, not a pathetic 4% used as a legal loophole. Fifth, look out for preservative 385, also known as calcium disodium EDTA, which tells you the product was engineered for warehouse survival rather than freshness. Finally, check the sugar content. If sugar is high on the list, the manufacturer is using it to mask the bitter taste of cheap, rancid oils. The industrial food system has quietly rewritten the rules of what we eat, transforming a simple kitchen classic into an indestructible, chemically stabilized asset. These massive food corporations did not reformulate your childhood favorites to make them taste better. They did it to survive road vibrations, cut ingredient costs, and extend shelf life on a Woolworth shelf. By shifting your mindset and reading the back label instead of the front, you instantly strip these brands of their psychological power. Thank you for sticking with me through this investigation and supporting independent journalism that puts consumer health first. If this video changed the way you look at your groceries, please share it with a mate who still slathers praise or craft onto their lunches, because they deserve to know what they are actually eating. Let me know in the comments below, which of these Mayo brands is sitting in your fridge right now, and are you going to swap it out? Make sure to subscribe because next week we are exposing the dark secrets behind Australia's favourite healthy music.